guys, welcome back to Vintage Halloween. I know it's been probably 5,000 years since I've been on here. So much has happened, as you know, like the past year and a half. So I thought I would just get on here and get YouTube kicking again. It is October, it is glorious today. It is a nice rainy, spooky day in Houston. Toby is panting on the floor. So if you hear a little cutie, that's him down there. But yeah, so things are exciting over here. The whole house, of course, is decorated. We're gonna get tours of that up here soon. And I started a Patreon account, so you can join for as little as $3 a month, and it focuses more on my art side, Halloween Hill Studio. So I'll get into that as we just catch up here. So yeah, so I was gonna do YouTube videos like weekly, and then of course the pandemic hit and it was just so overwhelming. I think that like being like a really sensitive person, like I've been told I have no spiritual skin, like I'm very empathic, like, and it was just too much on me to try to do like weekly YouTube videos. It was just like too much. So dropped off the planet, but now I think I'm in a really good place to start doing them again, because it's fun to share with you guys. It's fun to just continue our love of Halloween year round, and that's just what I love doing. So I think I'll be on here more regularly. But yeah, so last year, I mean, it was 2020, so, but I mean, as years go, it wasn't that bad for me. Like I was very lucky, I think. I was very blessed. My health was fine all year. I did lose my job at the beginning of 2020. I was working for an art consultancy firm, and they were just downsizing at the beginning of January. And so I was like, oh shoot, like I really loved this job. Like I'm really bummed about this. Like I guess my mission for 2020 is just to find a new job, and that's like what'll be the hard thing they'll have to go through. Oh, youth, innocence. And then of course the pandemic hit. Luckily I could be on unemployment, so it's on unemployment, so I didn't have to worry about money. And it was just sort of, other than being like, you know, horrified that, you know, of all the things going on in the world, it also gave us time, I think, to just sort of figure out what we love doing and develop other interests. Like I decided I love making miniatures. I made a miniature movie theater for my Calgary critters. That's something I started collecting. I made like a whole village. Like I think it was like my inner child, like being like, we need like a fun outlet, like when we're home, like just like sitting at home in quarantine. So I blame that on quarantine insanity. But it was also fun. Like I made a whole village. Like I set up for fall and winter and changed the seasons, and yeah, it's just really something fun that I've gotten into. So that's been really fun. Toby's in the doorway staring at me. Let's see, what else did I do? So I also, last year I started Halloween Hill Studio, and so that is what I'm doing now full time. I do Halloween art, and I have like monthly sales. Sometimes I have more sales in 1 month, and they're themed. So it's like haunted houses or jack-o'-lanterns or that type of thing. And so it's just been really, really fun to focus my fine art energy into Halloween, because Halloween's what I love the most, as y'all know. I mean, Halloween, just the best. So it's just fun to take my fine art skills and apply it. I think last year I had a big moment with that when I had to do a collaboration with this tree company called Treetopia. And so they'll send you like a Christmas tree, and like, we want you to decorate it in this theme. And so the theme last year was like villains and like, you know, sort of spooky villains. And so I picked the Headless Horseman, and they wanted us to decorate a room around that theme and then decorate the tree with the theme. And so I had an idea. I was thinking about doing a mural for a long time. And I had like 2 weeks until the deadline, and I was talking to my friends. I was talking to Vince and Miranda on the phone. We were FaceTiming, and I'm like, guys, like I want to do a Headless Horseman mural, but like, what if I don't have time? Like, what if I run out of time and don't have time? I only have 2 weeks until like this is due. And they're like, just go for it. Just go for it. So thank you, Vince and Miranda, for that encouragement. So I just did it. I went for it. I did like a little sketch. I had like sort of a vague idea of what I wanted to do. Luckily, like it turned out much better than I would have ever dreamed of. I think it's just like years and years of practice of being an artist worked in my favor, but I spent 10 days on it. You can see it on Instagram there. I'm gonna do a tour of my dining room this year as well. I decorated that for Halloween, so you can see that as well. But yeah, it turned out great. And like, I felt like I'm really like coming into my own as an artist, because before I could not make something up in my head and have it turn out well on the canvas, and now I can do that. So I think that like I've turned a corner with my art sort of in that way. And also I'd never done a mural before, and it was just like a really fun thing to do a mural. So yeah, so that was like a fun moment last year. Then I was like, I think that I could do this full time. So I started selling prints of that. And then just started focusing on paintings, oil paintings. I started my Patreon mostly because it's hard trying to make a living on Etsy right now. And I think that having some sort of other source of income, like I just want to diversify my sources of income. And also I think Patreon is so cool, guys. Like it's so fun to share just different things. I'm going to do art instruction and things I've never tried before. So I think that'll be really, really fun to do on Patreon. So my Patreon account is halloweenhillstudio. I'll put that in the description below. But yeah, so I was working on that last year. What else happened last year? Oh, so after Halloween, around November, I woke up and I think that I had been grinding my teeth or something like that. And I ended up cracking a tooth and having to have a molar like removed through like oral surgery. And that was just like traumatic. I pulled the tower like 2 weeks before in tarot cards. And I'm not an expert in tarot at all, but like my understanding is that the tower can be like a physical crisis, like, you know, or it could be like an existential crisis, like an identity crisis, or, you know, having a crisis about knowing what to do about blah, 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 or it's like I fell and broke my leg, the type of thing. So for me last year, it turned out to be like an actual physical thing. It was fine. I got the molar removed. It was fine. Like, but it was just like, oh, another thing to deal with. Toby, he's pawing my electrical cord. Baby, it's okay. So yeah, that was just like, bleh. That was a lovely time. But let's see, this year, I mean, the world is still the world, but I think that it's been better this year in certain ways, and then it's also been challenging in other ways. Like, I think it was around May or June where I started doing my monthly releases of artwork, and those have been going pretty well. And I had like big savings. I actually sold like a big painting that I was showing in Round Top for years, and so I had that thing sell, and I was like super excited about that. It was like a life-size portrait of like a cop from the behind, like a ranger, and so that was cool that sold like after years. And then I pulled the tower again. Sort of around like the beginning of July. I pulled the tower and I was like, oh hell. Hopefully it's existential this time. And I don't know if y'all have heard of Dr. Michael Lennox, but he is a like sort of like a spiritual teacher. He's a psychologist and he's an expert in astrology. And so I've took a lot of his classes this year and I found them very interesting. It's like a lot of shadow work, like, cause he's a psychologist. So like, that's what he does. But it was really, really interesting. So I decided to do an astrology reading with him. Like, I think it was like the beginning of July, maybe. And so he said, this is interesting, it's gonna go into what I'm talking about next, but he said that Pluto is trining my chart, and I think that meant that like Pluto is the underworld, sort of like darkness, and I think that like trining is like the good aspect with Pluto versus a square, where it's like, and he explained it like with the trine, like you almost fall down the stairs but you catch yourself, versus if it's a square, you fall down the stairs and like twist your ankle or something like that. And so I didn't take it literally. I took it like, oh, it must mean like you fall, something happens but you land on your feet. Yeah, so like 4 days later I fell and I broke my wrist. And if you follow me on Instagram, it was this bad boy right here. I was reading Twilight. That's another thing I got into this year. I'll share that in a minute. We'll circle back to Twilight. But I was in my bed reading Twilight and I looked up on the ceiling and there was a 3-inch Texas cockroach on the ceiling. And if you have not seen these, y'all, these are disgusting. And it was a brown and the antenna, I was just like, no. So I got my Twilight book and I got on top of my bed and I was standing not on my legs, but my feet. I was standing on my knees and I was jumping up trying to like hit it with the book to knock it down, and it flew at my face. I fell off the bed and landed like right on my palm, and I was like, I think I broke my wrist. So it was at midnight, so I was texting both my parents. I'm like, whoever's up, I think I need to go to the emergency room. Like it didn't hurt like when I fell on it, but like afterwards, like my body was like panicking and I'm just like, this is so weird. Like it's just, anyway, so I went to the ER and the doctor's like, you demolished it, you're gonna need surgery. I was like, great, I have no insurance. But anyway, so the silver lining of the whole thing is that I did not break my dominant hand. I broke my left hand. I'm right-handed. So that was good. That was the first thing that was a blessing. The second thing was I did not need surgery. The ER doctor ended up setting my wrist perfectly. So that was amazing. So I didn't need surgery at all. And they referred me to this great osteopedic surgeon, Dr. Amor. And so he was great. And I mean, like one appointment was $520. Luckily I had savings. after selling that painting, I had like savings. The savings is gone now. So I couldn't work for 3 weeks, like, and it was so crazy because it's like you're used to just like using both your hands, but like I could not open a water bottle. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't use my fingers on this hand at all. So my dad literally walked Toby 3 times a day for 3 weeks because I could not fasten the harness. Like, y'all, it was crazy. But luck, and also another silver lining, of course his help was like a huge help, but like another wonderful aspect was all the people on YouTube who have videos. Like one gal, I don't remember her YouTube channel, but she's so great. She like I think she lost her arm in like an accident or something happened. So she has one arm and she's like, this is how I do my hair in a ponytail with one hand. And so it's just like, it's like little hacks like that. It's like, oh, I can do this. I can adapt. Because I went through like the whole phase, I think like sort of the phases of grieving, where like when you're angry about it and then it's acceptance, then it's like, I can adapt and I can learn to do this too. I can learn how to wash my hair with one hand. Like I can, and I felt really empowered in the situation instead of just like really just like bummed out. It was also like July, I think it was like July 14th or 13th. And that was like the beginning of Halloween season. And I was like, damn, because like I really, my theme this year was Victorian Halloween, and I really had this beautiful fabric that I was gonna order and put up on the wall, but like I can't tack anything. Like when you can use one hand, you can't lift fabric and tack it on the wall. So I was like, oh man. But it ended up, of course, being the best thing that happened because I ended up finding these cool curtains on Amazon and putting those instead and not doing fabric, and it worked fine. So again, it's like more blessings, more silver linings in the situation. So yeah, so that ended up being good. Also just having the savings I could pay for the doctor's appointment. I try to do everything on cash base, but like I feel like having business expenses is like harder. So I've gotten a credit card since then. But it's just like, I'm telling you, but I feel like I'm gonna land on my feet. I've landed on my feet. It's gonna be fine. It's just like really stressful. Anyone who's broken a bone. And also like when I saw other people break bones, I thought that like after it healed, it was just back to normal. But like, I can't, like my movement isn't back yet. Like I can't go all the way back. It's coming back. Like I'm doing the exercises, but it's like at a certain point, it won't move any further. So it is what it is. It works, you know, it works. Okay. So Twilight. Something else that I blame on quarantine. So so if y'all remember, Texas had that huge like blizzard that was like crazy freak of nature blizzard back in February, where it was like 18 degrees and it was like snowing and we had all this ice and like it was crazy. So I live in a townhome community, and both my parents are divorced, but they have their own townhome in the same community, and so they have an east and a west side of like the neighborhood. And so during Snowpocalypse, like we woke up to the snow, like it had come like early in the morning or overnight, and I think my power had gone off around 6 a.m. because the grid went down. Hashtag Texas. And we're just like, oh God, like maybe it said like on the phone that it would only be off for a couple hours, and they were like sort of like rotating, but like the grid was out and like we didn't know that at that time. So after maybe like 4 hours, it was pretty clear. I'm like, this is gonna be a survival moment. Like I've been through hurricanes, I've been through Hurricane Harvey. Like I know a catastrophe, and this is gonna be like a tough survival moment. And we didn't have power for like 4 to 5 days. Like the water went off too, because I guess the water pumps are powered by electricity. Like it was freezing. I think after 4 hours that first day, my house was probably in the 40s. And my dad, so me and my mom live on the east side, and the east side lost power immediately, and that was out for maybe 4 to 5 days, and then the west side never lost power. I think it's because maybe they're tied into like a fire department or a police department grid or something like that. But my dad was like, I will come pick up you and Toby. You can just stay with me. I still have power right now. And I'm like, okay. Like, he's like, I'm like, I just don't want you to drive on the ice. He's like, we lived in Massachusetts. I know how to drive on ice. You go slow. You don't hit no sharp movements, no sudden braking. Just go slow. I'll pick up you and Toby. So he came and picked us up in 18-degree weather. And we just lived on his couch for 4 days. And then he never lost power. So that was like a huge, huge blessing, because 18 degrees. I mean, I think it's one thing when you're having a crisis in hot weather, because like you're not gonna get hypothermia, but like when it's 18 degrees, like people like had that happen to them, like in their houses, like pets, like just like you hear like horrible stories about things happening to people. And so I'm just very grateful that Toby and I were okay. But the bomb in my crisis was Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. which is Edward's version of Twilight, which was just like absurd. I mean, but I've been like waiting for it for years. So I was into Twilight back in the day. Like my sister's friend, Laura, got into Twilight, I guess like in 2005, like when Stephanie Meyer published the first book, or like she somehow found it like before it was popular. And so we had read the whole thing before, like, I guess the last book came out, before it was really popular. And so then of course I forgot about it after that, you know, time period. And it was so fun to get back into it. So I decided to reread all of those and rewatch the movies, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I was reading Twilight when I was killing the roach in the ceiling. And we're back to this. Yeah, so I also started collecting Twilight NECA figurines. I think I have like 8 of them or something. It's just another thing to collect. You know how I roll. So that's been sort of fun this year. Just sort of rediscovering my love of stupidity and dumb vampire novels. So that was fun. What else have we done this year? Yeah, it's just been more Halloween stuff. Just getting the Halloween decor up. I love how the living room turned out this year. I think it's my favorite this year because I had the time. I think like I've been doing Instagram, the Halloween Collector, for 6 years. And I think working full-time jobs while I was doing that was always so difficult. And now, since I'm doing my art business full-time, I have the time to like devote to decor and collaborations and that type of thing. So I think that was like a lot better this year. I just felt like less stressed out, though there's still, of course, like still a lot to do. Even the end of this year, I have 2 weeks left in October. I have still a lot to do, but it's just been like really nice to get that done. I also discovered something about myself. So I realized when I decorate, I don't know what I'm gonna do in the next step. Like my old pattern would be to quit and start over and do a whole new design. I've never finished a thought in a room, and so this year, I just got really inspired to finish my bedroom, and it's turquoise. The walls are turquoise, and I could never figure out like the perfect thing for it. Like I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and I just was really inspired a couple months ago. I'm like, I'm just gonna use what I have and decorate it, and it turned out awesome. Like I love it, and it's just like, you know that saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, like the design is fine. You just need to continue it, and you need to see it through to the end. So I figured that out about myself, and like I need to figure out how to continue when I feel stumped about some sort of aspect of a project. So yeah, so I've been decorating that. I'll do a tour of the living room as well, and the dining room and my bedroom. So we'll do tours, all that here on YouTube. But yeah, I've been doing that. Toby's dreaming. He's still wonderful. He is sitting here snoozing. It's raining today, so he won't go outside, which is just, you know, can't get the luxurious paws wet, I guess. But he's just the cutest little newborn. He's my little buddy. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the update here from where I stand. But yeah, going forward, I'm just looking forward to the world coming to some sort of normal, I mean, as normal as it can get in, you know, world of COVID and every other, you know, catastrophe, war, and disaster that's happened that just continues to keep happening. I just want to like travel again. I think like, yeah, just getting my business to a good point and developing that more, since I'm just starting out with it. That would be great. And just getting Patreon going, because it is really fun to share, and I'm really excited to do art instruction on there too as well. So just more fun projects. But yeah, so that is my update. I will be back hopefully more regularly from now on, and we'll have some ghost stories again for the end of October, especially on Instagram. It's Toby snoring. But anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I will talk to you later.